This means 10 lights in one vessel. That was the point and the standard of the status of Eilam Akudim. 10 lights in one vessel. Why is it called Akudim? Because they were all Okud. They were all tied together in one vessel. Then comes Teo, the topic we're discussing today. Teo is the world of chaos, and that represents in the Nefesh how each one of the character traits is an entity for itself. And not just an entity, a strong big I. Every one of them is a big I. A big I, a capital I, means that he cannot exist with any other, he cannot coexist with any other character trait, with any attribute. And this marked the beginning of the trouble in the world of chaos, Eilam Ateo. Because in Eilam Ateo, what happened was the character traits, the attributes, did not stand out separately, and they were able to coexist and blend, or also include some features from other attributes, but actually every attribute was in its strongest nucleus that it could be. And therefore, because it was in its strongest nucleus, it did not allow another attribute to coexist, and for sure not to blend together with it. Which means that every attribute was not in its soft spot and in its weak stage, but actually in the strongest stage. So Chassidus says, what does this mean? That every attribute was similar to a crown which has in itself, the crown of every world consists of all the attributes of that world. Over there it is like the nucleus. This is the strongest potential that's there. That's the crown. Once it starts breaking down in the 10 attributes, each attribute lets another attribute coexist with it. But in the world of Peo, every one of the attributes was like a crown, like a kesser. And therefore, because it was in the strongest potential, it therefore did not allow other attributes to coexist with it. Therefore, Chassidus says, what took place there? The attributes were not parallel, but were vertical. Parallel means they're on the same line. Vertical means one is on top of the other. They were zeh kacha zeh, one under the other, because each one did not allow anybody to exist on their level. We'll discuss a little further what Eilam Atikun is, what the stabilized world accomplished, and we'll understand why in the stabilized world there is a blend of chesed and gvura together, strictness, generosity and strictness, because each one has from the other one originally. The same way that we cannot mix with that fire and water are opposites, but when we take, Chassidus explains it, very interesting, when we take the element of fire, the element of water, and we take the weak spot, which is the water in the fire, and the fire in the water, so over there is place that one should relate to the other. Which means we're not taking the nucleus of the fire, we're taking the part of the fire which relates to water. And then it can come together with water. Chemically speaking, I don't know what the chemists are up to in this day and age. But basically, Chassidus explains that this is because each one has from the other. And that's why it allows the other to coexist.
It's like the four basic elements.
Yeah, the four basic elements. Fire, water, dust, and wind. What does this mean in the personality of a person? Personality of a person in the, let's speak about in the experiences in life. It was a light that was higher than the vessels. It was a light that did not allow another vessel, another attribute, period, to exist with it. In a person, this is like a person that receives, let's speak about the positive, a very exciting positive news. And he's so excited that his mind can't work clearly. And at points they're afraid if this person is a heart patient, they have to make sure that this is relayed to him in a very special way, the news that he's receiving. Otherwise it can really hurt the heart also. Because this is a light that's beyond the vessels of the person. This is referred to in Chassidus. It is referred to a reaction when a person would, God forbid, faint, pass out, by receiving something, a news item that is beyond the comprehension of the person. Where do we see it? We see it in the Chumash. Right in the beginning of the Parsha Chayei Sarah, the life of Sarah. It says she passed away. Say, what is the connection of her passing away to the Akedah? He brought Yitzchak for an offering. So he says, because she heard that her son was almost sacrificed. And her neshama just left her. Which means this was news. It was a light which was beyond her vessels. Her only son had him by 90 years old. And here she hears 37 years later that is bringing him he was brought for an offering. And as it's told, it's very interesting. I saw it lately. I never saw it before. That Avraham was concealing from his wife where he's taking Yitzchak. She didn't even know where he's going. Then she found out about it. Neshama just left because there were no vessels to contain it. The same thing is also in regards to, in general, a mashpia mekabel. A mashpia, somebody giving, somebody receiving. So Chassidus explains there's two sorts of chesed, of goodness. There's a goodness a person could receive, and then there's a goodness which is more than the person could contain. Chassidus explains that this is basically chesed kedusha. Chesed of kedusha in a sacred channel is something that it comes according to the vessel of the receiver. On the other hand, when we're speaking about chesed, goodness of the opposite of kedusha, the opposite of sacred, it is something that will give more than the consideration of the receiver. So this is basically the examples where someone could sometimes receive news which could be like a wind and could actually affect the health of the person, because it is more than the vessel could contain. This idea, this concept of Elam Ateo, the world of chaos, is that each one of these attributes stood as a king for themselves. As Chassidus explains, in the name of I think it's in the name of Kabbalah, that each one of these attributes said, Ano Emlech, I'm the king. When one says, I'm the king, there's nothing to talk about. There's no one there together with him. So the question is, in personality of a person, there can be a person that he is a stabilized person, that he is a person that shares with others, contributes to others, and then there's a person that's called Elam Hateo, a world of chaos. What does this mean? How is it reflected in the personality of the person? Personality of the person is that because it is a one-track mind, that the emotions are all one emotion at a time, does not allow to blend with another emotion. Sometimes a person might express even pity for another person, but not only for another person, but even for an evil person, because there's no limit. Once he starts practicing that potential, that personal character trait, he won't make any judgment or limit himself and say, you know what, this doesn't make sense. I'm going to give money to someone that's going to use it for negative things. It's wrong. It's wrong for the person, it's wrong for the humanity, it's wrong for everything. But when somebody is in a state of Elam Hateo, chaos, that means that every one of his attributes, every personal character trait is actually a whole world for itself, and is completely run on without any limitation, without any judgment, without any logic. So then he will have pity also for someone that he's not supposed to have pity for, because he did not take in consideration that something might be wrong over here. So this is basically an example how it can be an Arachmones Gam Al Achzori. Somebody that's evil. In other words, there's no limit. Doesn't have any limitation, any structure, no framework.